I wasn't even going to mention that, but since WWE issued a statement about it, as opposed to a no comment, it is news now, and so I will briefly talk about this ridiculous story. Not ridiculous, I'm not judging whether or not it's true or not. I mean, maybe we'll find out soon enough. Just ridiculous in terms of what the hell is alleged here. There was a Reddit user who was listening to old episodes of the MLW podcast from about 2012 or so. So this is going back a good 5 or 6 years. And on episode 49 of that podcast, Court Bauer, who used to write for WWE, and he's currently the force behind this latest MLW revival. I have a lot of you guys telling me I should start checking out MLW Fusion. I hear a lot of good things about that show. It actually is airing. It's on channel 220 something. I think it's this Be In Sports channel that I didn't even know I had. So I actually have access to the show. I think they put all their shows up on YouTube as well. It's just a matter of carving out time for it. But anyway, he is the force behind that. He told a story on that podcast 6 years ago about Randy Orton showing his penis to new writers who would just be starting out working for WWE. And what he would do is he would take it out, he would touch it, and he would then ask the person to shake his hand. So the story here, or the accusation here, is not that he was exposing himself and asking people to touch his private area. That would be really kind of off the rails here, and a whole different story we'd be talking about right now. But that's the story that he told. This is actually what he said on the podcast at the time. He said for every new writer that would show up, he would come in the room, put his hand down his pants, Orton would, pull out his dick, touch himself, and say, "I'm Randy Orton, shake my hand." "Oh, you don't want to shake my hand? You're big leaguing me? That's fucked up, man. Should I tell Vince and Steph that you don't want to shake Randy Orton's hand?" The writers would all start sweating and getting very uncomfortable and being backed up into a corner. And meanwhile, this guy is still standing there exposed. And he would be cutting a promo on the guy with his dick hanging out for like 5 minutes. And then Bauer goes on to say that Orton was very intense when this would happen, and so you never really knew if he was just fucking with you or if he was being serious. He said that Court said that he himself was lucky Randy did do it to him on his first day with the company when he got to TV. Just as he was about to expose himself, Stephanie McMahon walked in, and he says that shit went right back into his pants. And he described it as almost like a teacher walking into a classroom where the kids are misbehaving, and as soon as the teacher walks in, they all stop what they're doing. And on the podcast, someone asked him, "Well, what would you have done? Would you have shaken his hand?" And Court says, "Honestly, I don't know." He says, "I'm a bit of a germaphobe." So he said that this is something that Orton did during Court's entire time with WWE. And he was surprised that Orton never got hit with any sort of sexual harassment claim. So that's what was said on this podcast 6 years ago. I know that Figure 4 Online reached out to WWE for comment. They did respond. It was a very brief comment, but they did respond, and they said that they are looking into the matter. So they didn't say that this is false. They didn't say no comment. They didn't say we're not going to talk about this. They said we're looking into it. They are investigating this story. And I guess it all depends on how big this thing blows up. That doesn't really sound to me like anything worth costing the guy his job all of these years later. I know we live in a climate now, you hear about this all the time, and people digging up old stories and old comments and tweets and whatnot. And, and I don't think this is anything that's worth costing Randy Orton his job, unless he's still doing it. If it's true and it's something that he still does, first of all, that would be pretty fucking stupid of him to be doing, even still. But I don't expect anything major to come out of this. I really don't. There have been lots of stories about Randy Orton being a real dick to people over the years. I just didn't know he took it so literally.